Hey there, listen. So basically, based upon the rules of YouTube and the community guidelines, we have to make sure that we cover ourselves with the use of, if we're going to be using content, we have to recreate it, add some commentary to it, fix it up, whatever the case may be. It can never be the original. So anyways, this is my fair use, copyright, recreation, and just making sure that I abide by the community guidelines and the rules and regulations of YouTube in reusing this content.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, yes, it's your man, King Jives. Listen, we are going to try to go over this as quick as possible, just to do a recap all the way up onto this foolishness called a press conference. Listen, this man has gone on between Genesis and Larry, then over to James Fortune, and then now New York PD, Fox, New York News is posting about the robbers that have supposedly broken into this church, and it's still not making sense because you can't see no faces. Nobody has names. Nobody knows nothing. It's just really weird trying to just put all the pieces together. And then this man is just steadily talking in circles, trying to make this make sense. And it does not make sense. And, you don't want to really discredit somebody when something like this goes on. But hey, even the people that he's connected to, like 50 Cent, is out here saying, nigga, this don't even make any sense. This don't even add up. Like, whatever, man. Like, it's just, even when the people that you call your quote unquote friends don't think it makes sense and they're right there with you, then 9 times out of 10, it just don't make sense. But hey, you guys have to sit back, look at this for yourself, try to put the pieces together, and hey, just go from there. It is.
How many of you have lost your faith because you saw somebody else die what you about to go through? Yo. All right. All right. Yo, all right. Nobody move. Come on, hustle. Hold me. Nico, go. Oh, God. Please, Nico. Stay. Don't move. Come here. Come. Go to your mom. Go. Oh, Jesus. Just stay there, okay? Come on, Jalen. Just don't worry about no fucking iPad. Come on, it's an exit this way. Come on, it's an exit. We gotta exit. Stay right here. Sit.
I want to purchase. If I worked hard for it, I can purchase what I want to purchase.
We mentioned that police say the robbers got away in that white Mercedes. One more clue that you should hear, it has New York plate KMZ 5464. Again, KMZ 5464. Whitehead is no stranger to the law. He served 5 years in prison for a $2 million identity theft scam.
Now listen, I actually had a conversation with the lady who owns this particular venue. Just know this is not a church. This is actually an event center. The lady's name is Stacy. I believe that's correct. She owns Studio 18. It's an upstairs event center. And I have been calling it a bodega because it looks like a bodega, okay? And it's actually beautiful on the inside, outside of what you see out here. This is the venue. That's Stacy. At the end of the day, it's a beautiful looking place and all of that stuff. I'm just trying to understand why the church don't look like this on a regular basis, because what we see on the regular from some of his videos, it just looks a fool. And I'm just saying, you're quoting that you're a multimillionaire and you're having church in an event center in a small place like this. At least invest in your facility and make it make sense. I mean, that's just me. Those are just my thoughts, my opinions, okay? Those are just my thoughts, my opinions. It just don't even make any sense. Again, leave your comments and everything below. Tell me what you think about it, because we all have opinions.
Scared, and then the person on the left is not reacting as you would expect.
The whole story is bizarre, that this even happened, and he's wearing $1 million worth of jewelry. But we know no one was hurt here, so that's important, but hopefully I get to the bottom of this.
Yeah, if you know anything about this case, the New York police would like to hear from you. Call 911. Okay, meanwhile, after months
They're
of
not even
internal
with the
debate,
ish
the
no
US
more.
has the potential.
Now, leading up to the press conference, everything is starting to come out. All of the information, and then coming to find out that he has taken money from one of his parishioners or somebody that he knows, $90,000. And then there is $150,000 in South Florida. Then there's another $330,000. And this happens to be the press conference that he was claiming that was going to be so packed with full of people, and come to find out there's nobody there. What is that black thing right there? I'm really confused. Sir, what are you doing? Pilates? What's that? It just looks like people are just walking by and just like, oh, what you doing? I don't know who this lady is over here in this Fendi shirt. I'm confused. This is just really not making any sense. The more I see this stuff, the more this man continues to talk, I just continue to scratch my head in confusement because it's not making sense.
How's everybody doing today?
Good.
How are you? 414. Great. If I would like to first open up in prayer. I would like to first open up in prayer. Set the atmosphere right. Because the last time I was here at my ministry, it was in a atrocity. So I want to pray. Father God, we thank you for this set time. We set ourselves in agreement. We love you, Lord, today. And we ask you to give us an understanding heart. Give us peace. Give us clarity. For your word says, if my people who are called by my name shall humble themselves and pray, seek my face, and turn from their wicked ways, then I will heal from heaven and heal the land. That was 2 Chronicles chapter 7:14. Now we thank you, God, today. In Jesus' precious name. Amen. So, I wanted to have this press conference today because it is an emergency. Our houses of worship, no matter if you're Christian, no matter if you're Muslim, no matter if you're Jewish, no matter if you are Buddhist or Hindu, no matter what walk of life you are, we come into the house of the Lord to pray. We come come into the house of the Lord to give praise. We come into the house of the Lord with no weapons. We come into the house of the Lord vulnerable. We come into the house of the Lord and we drop our regret. We drop things that people have done to us on the outside, whether it's loved ones, whether it's people that did not know us. We walk into this church, our houses of worship. We walk into this church, whatever worship center you go to, with a whole heart, with a contrite heart, with a forgiving heart, with a heart not to look over our back and our shoulders for people to harm us or hurt us. But on July 24th, as leaders of Tomorrow International Ministries, as we were in church, and as I began to preach a sermon called Remember Me. And this sermon was entitled Remember Me because Isaiah, the prophet, came to Hezekiah and said, your time is up and you're going to die. And Hezekiah prayed and said, Lord, remember me. It's not by accident that God allowed me to preach that sermon, Remember Me. Because God remembered us. God remembered us. And there was no fatality. And as I got into the pulpit, three armed men ran into my church with guns out, guns drawn. And my parishioners didn't even know what was happening. And as I began to preach my sermon and looking at the front door, and I saw the door rip open, and three armed men coming in with pistols. And the only thing that I can do is say, okay, 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 with my hands up. To show them that I surrender. To show my church that I shepherd, that we are not going to fight. And as I put the mic down, I told the church to get down. And when they start to roll and look around, the women and children start to scream, holler, as the three gunmen came to the pulpit and put a gun to my head. And one of the gunmen went to my wife, who was right on my side, holding my 8-month-old baby. They put the gun in my 8-month-old baby's face. As they took all of the jewelry from my wife, I was still held at gunpoint. And the man that robbed me took my Episcopal ring, my wedding ring, my watch, my bishop's chain and cross, because we were celebrating communion. And then he started to tap my back and said, what else do you have? Started to tap my back. And he felt my other chains underneath my robe. And he began to rip my sacred collar off my neck. The collar of the yoke. When I was consecrated, they had to put the collar as I became a bishop. And he ripped it maliciously. And as you can see in the video, he continued to jerk it and pull my chains. But it wouldn't come off. So he told me, take it off with the gun to my head. And as I looked at my congregation, and they were all rolled over on the floor, I was a helpless shepherd. They trusted me, and I couldn't protect them in this moment. And as I took off my jewelry and gave it to them, two of them ran, one came back and started tapping my pockets. And then he ran off. And as soon as he turned his back and got to the door, I ran behind him. Because I wanted to be in front of my church. If they came back, they would hit me first. I wanted to protect my church. And I began to go downstairs, and as I seen them through the window, seeing them funneling across the street, wandering. And I jumped in my car, and I began to chase them, but I couldn't find them. And I drove up and down Avenue D. So I'm here today, not to continue with this story because you heard it, but I'm here today because houses of worship need to be protected. We need to be protected. I want to go through just a few notes of mine because the media, for some reason, you portray black men as criminals. My church can't get no sympathy nor empathy. If you recall, 2 months ago, I turned in a young man that was wanted for murdering another young man on the Q train. The family called me, and I told them that he must turn himself in. And they agreed, and they trusted me. And when we got to the end of the surrender, the media portrayed me as the bling bling bishop. They portrayed my car. They talked about my Fendi jacket. They talked about me. And they did not even want to talk anymore about what the bishop has done. This was a man that was wanted for murder. This was a man that was alleged to commit a crime against a New Yorker. One of, if not the greatest city in the world. And after that, my life changed. Because all the media started to plaster me not as a bishop, but as a black man that was convicted, that has a felony. And nobody else wanted to talk about what Mr. Whitehead has done. Nobody wanted to talk about that the young man turned himself in and surrendered. Everybody wanted to talk about the bling bling bishop that the media portrayed. And then they wanted to go, oh, he was convicted for scheme to defraud, grand larceny. And then, as a black man, they always bring up our past. They always bring up our past. But they don't want to say that Bishop Whitehead was illegally convicted. They don't want to say that they forged search warrants in order to convict me. They don't want to talk about how they hid all the evidence and lied to my attorneys to convict me. But everybody wants to talk about that I went to prison. Typical black man. Let's talk about my father, Arthur Miller, who was killed when I was 6 weeks old, beat and strangled to death by 16 police officers by the 77th precinct. And I had to grow up without a father. I didn't have nobody to teach me how to be a man because of the color of my father's skin. But yet, my church, nobody can empathize or sympathize with us. You want to know why? Because you're plastering their pastor, his past. And nobody wants to talk about these 3 men that came into this church and violated us. We are a house of worship. It doesn't matter if we're black, brown, white, Asian. It doesn't matter. Why are we missing the point? Why isn't it enough media talking about what happened to my church? My wife has not stopped crying. My daughter has not stopped crying yet. My members have not stopped crying yet. Nobody's empathizing with my church. They don't even want to come to church no more. I was on the phone with one of my preachers. She said, Bishop, I'm scared to answer the phone. It just brings so much anxiety. They're beating up on you, Bishop. What are we supposed to do? I'm a black man in America. Every time I get in my car, I don't know if I'm going to come home because we die for less. So today, I want to bring our attention to a few points. Then I'm going to open it for questions. Everybody is setting a narrative that all of this, it was $1 million, it was 400,000, all that's garbage. Nobody can quote that I said any of that. But to sell newspapers and to sell media, y'all put whatever number you want on its face. And I don't get the opportunity to defend myself. $1 million worth of jewelry in all the tabloids. Why would a pastor have that? What about his congregation? And then you posterize if I wear a Fendi suit or Gucci suit. Why is Fendi, Louis, and Gucci, why can't we wear that in the church? What's wrong with that? What's wrong with that? Because we believe God for hope. We believe God for hope. We believe God for transparency. We believe God to change our lives. My mother was on welfare. I remember, I don't know how old y'all are, but I was born in 1978 where I had to get the pack of food stamps. The purple, the yellow, the brown, the rainbow book. And I had to go and use food stamps. So now I'm able to buy a little finer things for me and my family. And now you crucify me.
As you should.
Now you crucify me. And everybody say, how in the world can you come to a destitute neighborhood and wear these garments? Well, I don't see this neighborhood as destitute. I see this neighborhood as growing. With men leading neighborhoods like this, it will be changed. I wear what I wear to encourage people, not to laugh at people. My community work speaks for itself. I am the biggest pastor in New York City of my giveaways. Last year, I shut down on Thanksgiving and I spent $25,000 to feed 30 families. Go buy what you want. The year before that, I did the same thing. Google it, you'll see it. Every Christmas, I give away thousands of toys. Where is that in the media? Where is that in the tabloids? I go to prisons. I have gang walks. Gang members call me and ask me for advice. I bring gang members to talk to captains and inspectors. I bridge the gap between the streets, the church, and politics. Where is that in the media? Why do we always gotta tear black men down? I don't see y'all talking about Joel Osteen and his jets and his houses. I don't see y'all talking about his tailored suits. But as soon as a black man has a tailored suit, he's a criminal. And y'all build a narrative. Oh, he was in prison and he must have knew something about a robbery. Are you kidding me? Let my church give us some sympathy. Empathize with us in this season. This only happened 5 days ago. We're mourning. We're hurting. We had to get on the floor. So why are y'all making the pastor get on the floor? Why are y'all beating me up like this? Why are you doing what you're doing? So when we look at tabloids and you guys say, well, the reason why his church got robbed was because of his lifestyle and because of the clothes he wear and the jewelry he had. Well, I want to take you back to June 17th in 2015. 9 people were killed during a worship service at Emmanuel African Methodist Church in South Carolina. That pastor didn't have chains. That pastor didn't have a nice car. But yet they prayed, P-R-E-Y-E-D. They are praying on our church. What about in 2017, another black church in Texas? 26 church members died and 20 wounded because they walked in our church and did what they wanted to do. This is the first time this ever happened in New York City. The first time ever. So therefore, if we don't protect our houses of worship, they're going to be copycat crimes, just like this. And I want to call on the governor, I want to call on the mayor, I want to call on the Congress, the council, and the assembly. They need to pass a law expeditiously that pastors of houses of worship and anyone under the ecclesiastical staff need to be able to have permits for firearms. If the teachers can have it, we should be able to have it. No matter if we have a record, it should be exempt because we've changed our life. And you say, well, why do you have to carry pistols? And why can't you have security? Well, some churches are too small to afford armed security. So we should be able to bear arms like the Constitution said. So I want to close out with, we are our brother's keeper. And I'm asking the media today, I called this emergency press conference because the leading story around the world is Bishop Whitehead. You Google Bishop Whitehead, everybody's trending off of Bishop Whitehead. But Bishop Whitehead goes home and cries because I'm the victim. My church is the victim. But the media is portraying me to be a villain. And it's not fair. Let us mourn a little bit. Let us thank God a little bit that there was no fatality at all. So I'm going to open the floor for questions, and I'm going to answer it to my best knowledge and based off of what I've conversated with my attorney.
2 questions please.
Bishop, what do you have to say? Did you, based on what the woman in the lawsuit accused you of stealing $90,000 life savings, did you do that, and what is your response?
Well, today, as one of the CBS reporters so kindly brought to our attention, and my attorney also brought to my attention, we gained a victory today. We gained a victory today. Y'all do your own research, but I can't get into the legality of this fictitious claim against me. So we gained a victory today. So everybody that's been posting about Bishop, I want y'all to understand that y'all are seeing a true man of God. Y'all can paint me the way y'all want to paint me, but we gained a victory today, and I'm gonna leave it right there.
And also, have you spoken with the mayor since yesterday?
Yes.
What did you talk about?
2 questions.
He just encouraged me to keep my head strong.
So actually, the numbers, the 400,000 and the 1 million, they come straight from the NYPD. That's how we're reporting it. And I actually asked the NYPD how they got those numbers. They said the victim of the crime reports the numbers. So I was wondering, first, how did the $400,000 number come up, and then how did it go up to $1 million?
You have to ask the NYPD for that. Can't
I
ask
said
me
to
that.
ask you.
No, I'm telling you to ask them.
That's the question we're not going to address at this time.
Yeah. So next, who's got another question?
Is there a more accurate number that we can report?
My legal team told me do not get into the value of any property. So you guys do your research. You guys do what you have to do, but those numbers are inaccurate.
You cashed had 400,000 on 1 year.
Were the items insured?
You have to. That's a legal question. Anybody else with a question? Go ahead, man.
Have you spoken to the Department of Interfaith in regards?
I can't hear you, man.
Have you spoken to the Department of Interfaith in regards to the situation of the religious houses?
Well, we have really been taking our time because this has been a traumatic experience. So I've been having my church in therapy this week. So my main focus right now is to make sure that my church is okay. And all of those meetings will come. All of those meetings will proceed. I'm hoping that the governor will reach out to me so we can have a sit down. Since I am the first pastor to ever be robbed in history in New York City, so I'm waiting for the governor to reach out to me. I'm also just waiting for all elected officials that can pass laws, sit down with me, and I'm definitely going to address that.
So, you know, before you helped turn the young man in after the shooting on the subway, you know, I remember when last year you ran, of course, for Brooklyn Borough President. Yes. And during that campaign, you accepted a loan, $150,000 from a woman down in Miami, Josette Bayoro. Just wondering how you know her and why you did not repay her.
Thank you so much. At this present time, Bishop will no longer be answering any more questions. We appreciate
you said
your
2
time.
questions a person.
Have a good day.
I didn't even get to finish the first one. Yeah.
I'm gonna let it. You're right. You're right. You're right. They're trying to listen. That's more of a legal question, and what you just stated is inaccurate. I'm gonna leave it there.
Why though?
You have a lawyer we can get contact with?
Yep.
What's his name?
All you have to do is send an email, and then we'll email you back.
What email?
What email though?
Press conference at lotim.org. lotim.org.
All inquiries, all press releases will be sent out to the media with all information on Bishop Whitehead, and any questions that you may have can be filtered through
How do you restore the faith in the community?
That's a good question.
Yes.
Yes, that's a good question. How do we restore the faith in the community? By coming together, right? By not separating. The Bible says a divided house can't stand, right? The Bible also says a double-minded man is unstable in all his ways. What I represent for the community, I look like you, brother. I got the same Brooklyn hat. I wear it. Look on my page, right? Because I want to inspire you. I want you to be able to understand that the same God that loves me, he loves you. And I want us to all come together. That's how we restore the community, right? When we come together as one, right? Not hating one another, not separating from one another, right? And standing 10 toes down. The reason why they are able to attack me and the way they attack me is because we are a divided people. We are a divided house. And you know one thing I want to say about that, if they had cameras when my father was beat and strangled to death by 16 police officers, then we would have had a witness. But back in 1978, the black man and the black woman's testimony or witness statement didn't mean anything. And that's why all of them got off. My father's dead. I'm still here fighting for my life.
Bishop, I'm sorry, but what would you say to people who wonder how a pastor has the kind of money it appears that you might have in the possessions? What would you say to people?
What would I say?
question
The Bible
it? Yeah.
says in the book of Genesis that there are 4 streams of the rivers. So I always teach my church, and I always teach people to have more than one stream of income. It's not about getting in my business. It's about having more streams of income. I'm not on a salary with my church. It's about having multiple streams of income. That's it. Everybody wants to box me in to make it seem like I am on salary with my church. I am not. To answer your question, you have enough questions.
Pastor, I'm just wondering about the police presence here. Have you been getting any police protection since the robbery?
Yes. The NYPD is amazing. The 69th precinct, the captain calls me all the time. The chief of patrol, the commissioner of community affairs came here. The NYPD has been impeccable. I'm talking about they call me every single day to ask me am I okay. The chief of patrol, Chief Madry, when this happened, he was over here in 10 minutes. I can't speak highly enough for the NYPD. And with me speaking this way about them, y'all better believe it. Because I was upset when I was young that they took my father's life. But I was able to forgive, right? And now I have a relationship with NYPD. And they call me every single day. Someone calls me from the NYPD to make sure if I need anything, to make sure what I need. And every Sunday, the security system has changed. The NYPD will be outside. So for all my members that are looking, all the people that want to come to church, come on to church, because the NYPD will be here for our safety.
Bishop, I know you can't address the case with Pauline Anderson, but her son Rashid used to be involved with your church. Could you speak to why there was a falling out?
We can't hear you.
No, I'm not even going to answer that question anyway, so there's no matter. Yeah, I'm not even answering it because that don't even matter. We're here to address things about protecting the church And if you guys want to clear anything up, if I can answer it, I'm going to answer it. I don't run from anything. Go ahead.
Just regarding, okay, great, NYPD will be here, you know, giving that assurance to your parishioners to come back to church now. But is there a greater plan going on in your mind? I mean, you're calling on the governor and the mayor to make kind of just across the board to maybe help protect pastors more. But in general, you know, you even mentioned we can't really afford as a small church to hire our own security, you know, team. But are you thinking about that, kind of contrasting that with what people are accusing your lifestyle of being maybe lavish, you know, but are you thinking about maybe a plan of a different kind of security team and investing in that for future?
Yes. We have a whole strategy. We have a whole strategy. We're putting together a whole strategy, a whole plan. And I'm not only calling on the governor, I'm calling on President Biden. Because, you know, anytime that there is an election time, they all come to the houses of worship, right? So they get our vote. Protect us. So why don't we do it this way? Protect the vote, right? So I'm calling on the White House. I'm calling on every elected official that has power to protect houses of worship. We need protection. We need you to sympathize with us, so therefore we can protect. We don't get the luxury of having firearms, right? We don't, y'all think, see, everybody doesn't make money in church. There's so many churches that's struggling. Struggling. We are struggling. But we love Jesus Christ so much that we still crawl to church. Churches are bankrupting and we can't find help. So now all we're asking, help us protect ourselves. Pass a law where we can carry our firearms, because this gun violence has went to a new level.
If you have any words for the robbers, what words would you give them?
If I have any words for the robbers, what would I give them? First of all, I forgive. The Bible teaches me to forgive. Matthew 6, verse 14, 15 says, if ye forgive your trespasses, then I will forgive you your trespasses. But if you do not forgive your trespasses, then I won't forgive you. So I would say, I forgive you. There's no harm, no hurt, no foul. But the second thing I would say is turn yourself in. What you did was in violation of every code of ethics. Ain't nobody from heaven to the streets that's going to respect you from running into a church of worship. Ain't nobody that have any tough blood in their body gonna respect you from running into the church. Nobody. So turn yourself in. Find your local station, police station, and turn yourself in. And if whoever was behind it, because you know the tabloids think I'm behind it, whoever was behind it, snitch, tell on them, right? Since y'all think I'm behind it, tell on them. When you turn yourself in, tell on them. Snitch on them. Because what you did was wrong. That's what I would tell them. Anybody else?
Will you continue to help people in your church going forward with investments or any other type of advice or guidance financially?
So I separate myself from my church, right? So it's not like I help my church do any investments, all right? I've never done that, okay? But what I do is I teach free classes. That's what I do. I teach free classes. Classes that will cost you $5,000. I teach free classes of real estate and how to invest and what to invest. So please don't be bamboozled of how people turn things around. But it's not something that I get into the pulpit and try to teach my church. This is a separate thing. I don't force my church into what they don't want to be in. I teach you the instruments and the ways of whatever I know. And it's up to you to decide. So I'm going to take two more questions. And
I have a question.
Yeah.
How did you feel? What was going through your mind when you was on the ground and that gun was in your back? I want to know everything that was going through your mind.
Well, what was going through my mind? I was helpless.
Were you praying? What was going on?
I got it.
In that moment?
Yes. I was helpless, but prayer got me through. Right? I was looking at my daughter with a gun. I don't know what type of gun, but it was black. In her face. 8 months old. And daddy could not save her because if I moved, a lot of lives could have been gone. I saw my church, all of my deaconess board, because they was in white for communion, all on the floor, on top of each other. A pastor with his head down, looking, a shepherd, looking, hurting, feeling helpless.
Stay strong.
Can't do nothing.
Stay strong.
For people that trust me to lead them. And then y'all try to beat me up. What about my church? If y'all don't like me, don't follow me. But what about my church? What about the women that's crying, that's calling me? What about my church? It's not about me. Why are y'all doing this to my church? Why are you doing this to every house of worship? Talk about being sympathetic and empathetic to my church. No further questions. Thank you for coming out. Thank you for coming out. And y'all can send an email to press conference at lotim.org. May God bless you. And we will be having more updates. The investigation is still moving forward. And I can't wait for these 3 young men to be justice to prevail. God bless you, and y'all stay safe.
Stay strong, brother. Stay strong.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.